Can we get a pie rep on the guys on final? I'm getting one now. The last two downwinds was moderate to severe rime ice, heavy precip. We're thinking this stuff is going to be east of us in the next 20 minutes. I gotta put a ground stop in. We need 10 miles in trail on the dog's route. 10 miles in trail.
The NAS is a complex network of systems and aircraft. Things move quickly in the NAS. Real-time decision-making is dependent on your effective communication skills. The NTML is a single system for logging, automated coordination, and communication of information and initiatives. It enables all facilities, including the Air Traffic Control System Command Center, to share knowledge about conditions throughout the NAS.
So with the NTML entries, that gives you the ability to effectively communicate with the entire NAS through a simple message.
The data that's entered into the NTML is disseminated very widely, both to airlines, operations personnel, and to the command center.
Data entries via the NTML are being used to make on-the-spot decisions that affect safety and efficiency across the entire system. However, the NTML's usefulness as a decision-making tool is only as good as the data that goes into it. Timely, accurate, and complete data is essential for all stakeholders.
NTML entries are critically important for several reasons. One is it's the official log from FAA facility to FAA facility. They are scraped and used and go to the outside world through SWIM, System-Wide Information Management. They're used to electronically coordinate and approve, adjust, modify, cancel restrictions from one facility to another.
SWIM, or System-Wide Information Management, is the data sharing backbone of the NAS. NTML entries are immediately captured by SWIM and shared with stakeholders, enabling them to make better informed decisions. The networked system provides real-time, accurate flight surveillance, weather, and aeronautical information. Users include the FAA, airlines, research institutions, and other stakeholders.
Most TMCs and people that use the system don't realize that a lot of people are eyes on what's going on. And one of those people now are the customers.
NTML data has influence over a wide set of decisions. First and foremost would be reroutes, whether in a swap event, trying to adjust to a terminal fix restriction or closure, mile and trail or reroute restrictions on the en route environment, as well as fueling considerations for our dispatchers and their flight planning, and even proactively when we look at schedule reductions due to constraints, the NTML does have influence over our cancellation logic.
It's really, that information is used by our dispatchers and ATC coordinators. It's used from a strategic environment for pre-planning, depending on what constraints we see, and then it also can be used in the tactical environment. And that's why it's important for that data to be updated, timely.
The sooner you make those entries, the sooner your first tier facilities and the command center can be aware of the situation you're dealing with, and they may be able to provide support. Not only the FAA facilities, but also the operational personnel at the airlines.
It's a huge asset. It's what the FAA is seeing, and for us to see the exact same thing FAA controllers or the command center is seeing is a tremendous benefit for us, just for the pre-planning and also the tactical portion of the operation.
NTML entries are very important because they're our first line of communication with all the facilities in the NAS. So it alleviates phone calls, it alleviates excessive communication. If the tower sends in an NTML entry and tells us what's going on, how many aircraft are involved, and how long they think it's going to be, the impact, it just helps us do our job better to help them.
As far as timely entries of the data, that's really important for our tactical operation. So in real time, if we want to know about fix closures and route restrictions, the quicker that information, obviously accuracy is paramount, but the quicker that information could get into the log, the quicker that our tools that are receiving the data will be able to display that on the dispatchers and ATC coordinators' screens so that they can make real-time decisions about how to manage the operation.
The end goal is to use the NTML as a working tool to inform people quickly and readily what the impacts are and if there's trouble in the system or how you're improving.
And we're mining the swim feeds and finding operational uses for it. Having that information real time is going to move us so forward in how we move our airline forward, especially around surface movement and arrival fix balancing. It actually, we consider it to be like one of the really most important parts that we can help control, and having that NTML information is a great step forward on that.
It's very important for other facilities throughout the NAS to put departure delays in as timely as possible. That way we can, at the command center, can help you as soon as possible. That way industry will know as soon as possible and they can make decisions that help the entire NAS.
Did you know the miscellaneous template is only used when no other template applies? Entries placed in the MISC tab can reduce the effectiveness of data since it is not properly disseminated. The data is categorized only as miscellaneous and not distributed appropriately to the command center and other users. Some of the following examples are entries that are commonly placed in the MISC tab, which really belong in more appropriate templates. Restrictions, de-icing. During severe weather, the command center relies on de-icing information submitted via the NTML to base traffic management strategies off of. Unavailable gates, surface gridlock, backed up taxiways can all result from de-icing, and strategies to ensure the airport is not overloaded must be enacted. Timely access to de-icing data is also useful to stakeholders to mitigate their delays as well. Using the ICE tab in NTML allows for the appropriate dissemination of information to the command center and through external-facing platforms such as SWIM. Restrictions, departure route closure. When the Restrictions RSTN tab is used to coordinate departure route closures, it transmits the data to the command center and the airlines through the SWIM feed as well. The command center and industry partners leverage this information to make timely decisions about how to appropriately handle the constraint. Restrictions, metering. Time-based metering also needs to be captured in the Restrictions tab. As with route closures, this advises the command center and the airlines that TBM operations have been enacted. Restrictions, severe weather. We are all aware of when severe weather is going to impact the operation, so when entering a restriction due to severe weather, ensure the severe weather button is checked. This allows the severe weather specialist at the command center to receive the appropriate information and not implement TMIs that could contradict or adversely affect the original request. Restrictions, greater than 25 miles in trail. An FEA, or flow evaluation area, must be attached to a restriction of 25 miles in trail or greater in order for it to be evaluated and approved by the command center. This allows all stakeholders, from the command center to airline SOCs, to be notified of the potential delay information and adjust their operational decisions. Causal factor, volume. Some users will select volume as the causal factor when inputting a restriction and delay. However, volume should only be selected when the airport is in its optimum configuration and no other impacting condition exists. Whenever there is another factor limiting capacity, that causal factor should be selected in favor of volume. Ask yourself, what caused the volume? For example, if thunderstorms are causing the rerouting of traffic and increased volume that requires mitigation, the causal factor should be weather and not volume. Causal factor, other. The causal factor other is also misused. The only time this causal factor should be used is when no other causal factor applies. This allows for appropriate binning of information and paints the most accurate picture of the events that are occurring. But when this causal factor must be used, remember to enter a description of the impacting condition into the free-form text area. If it is left blank, those reviewing the information do not know what is happening in the field facilities. Bringing it all together. Shift summaries in the NTML provide a high-level review of the day's events, as well as an important tool in the development of future plans. Of course, the summarization includes all major events that occurred during a shift, but also delays and weather impacts that took place, bringing it all together. Shift summaries in the NTML provide a high-level review of the day's events, as well as an important tool in the development of future plans. Of course, the summarization includes all major events that occurred during a shift, but also delays and weather impacts that took place. And don't forget to review the entire log for events that are worthy of calling attention to in post-event analysis. A thorough summary results in more effective review of the previous day's events and provides an assessment of possible strategies to handle similar situations in the future. Up-to-date NAS data is more valuable than ever, used by all stakeholders and not just for next-day review. Immediate, actionable value depends on the timely, accurate, and complete input of data into the NTML. Your speed and attention to detail enhance the real-time safety and efficiency of the National Airspace System.